What's the most important resource that you have? If you really thought about this deeply, I think you'd come to the same conclusion that Joey and I did. It's time. In our newest book, What's Without Wall Street, the 3 Steps to Financial Freedom Through Passive Income, we talk about how are we tracking that time? What is the thing that we can do to get more of that time back?
That's right. If you've ever been listening to our podcast and thought, man, it would be amazing if I could take all the things that you guys have learned over the last 10 years and just summarize them, put them in some way to easily digest them and take action, that's what this book is all about. You're not going to want to miss it. Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/new book and get your copy today.
All right, Stallion, I know that your culture index says you are a debater, and I love to debate whether or not your topic is the best one. So give us a reason why you say people are the one thing that you would be investing in.
Well, first and foremost, you know me as the people guy to begin with. It certainly can't be Russ as the people guy. And it comes down to the fact is, if we can really identify things within ourselves and investing in ourselves through education and then adding to that mentors, then finally partners. Those are the 3 ways that I'm going to break this down today, because I think it is critically important that you have practical ways to do all the above. Okay. You've heard the term before, invest in yourself. What does that actually mean? Well, first and foremost, I believe there's a person that you're supposed to be at some point in the future. Maybe it's when you really want to be entrusted with $100 million business. I'll use Alex Hermosi, somebody we've met here on the show before.
Wait a second. Are you saying business is important?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you are supposed to be a business owner, you will have to become the business owner. Maybe you're supposed to be investing in assets, but if you don't take care of the person first, none of that other stuff matters. So I'm still right, and we're going to continue on here. So I'm going to say investing in yourself through coaching and through education. So like our partners at Apex Coaching Group, they walk you through a framework that takes you from confusion to simplicity. We talked about that up front. Complexity to simplicity. Making sure I have the right vision, making sure I have my cash going to the right place so that then I can start to invest confidently as the investor that I'm supposed to be. And then there's beyond that, but you get the point. If I stop first and invest in those things, now all of a sudden I have all the clarity in the world to figure out where are my gaps from here. And that's where I'm going to add these last 2, right? Figuring out the right mentors. Russ, when you and I connected with Nelson Nash as a personal mentor, we were very clear that we had a gap in understanding how to implement the infinite banking concept. Well, why was that? Because we identified our need for that by reading his book, by starting to implement the process and then saying, hey, we have an amazing opportunity. There's somebody in our city, in Birmingham, Alabama, who is the godfather, the creator of this concept. We would be morons not to go and sit under his tutelage, as he was willing to give us that time. Now, there are some other types of mentors that you have to seek out, that you have to actually pay for their time, because they're not going to just in and of themselves come to you and just proactively seek you out for whatever reason. And here's the thing that I'll add to that makes this very practical. If there's a mentor in your life that you desperately need to get to know, they have the gold that you need to become the person you need to become. I would challenge you to do one thing. Take an inventory of the skills that you have, and you've heard us talk about this on the show before. The skills that you have may be time. In that person, that mentor, may have very little time. And so if you can offer that up, I'll give you one example. A gentleman we interviewed, he said one time he was really good at building websites, and he met a mentor, a potential mentor, whose website was garbage. He's like, it was a dumpster fire. She needed a new website really bad. He went and heard her speak. And right afterwards, he went up to her and said, hey, I noticed that your website could use it like a facelift. I actually do that full time. I'd love to actually build one for you free of charge. All that I ask is that you let me follow you around for 2 days to see what you do. Would you be willing to do that? And guess what? She became not only a mentor for 2 days, but for months and years after that, because they built a relationship, because he came ready and prepared to provide value. That's the challenge that I would say is some people say, well, man, nobody wants to spend time with me. Nobody wants to do these things to pour into me. And I would say, start with that inventory personally. Who do I need to become and what do I have to offer that relationship? And that would lead me into that last part is, man, throughout this process, you're becoming somebody that you weren't before. And in that process, you're finding where are the things that I need to grow in? What are the things that I need to, like I have gaps that maybe this is never going to be a strength for me. Well, the future is you're going to need partners. So this is investing in people even further. And there are things that you can identify in a potential partner that is a gap for you only if you did the first step that I mentioned before. If you've educated yourself on what sort of investor you are, have you taken the investor DNA profile and matrix to determine what sort of a person am I? What sort of an investor am I? If you've done that, now you can really identify the people you're going to be able to make way more successful by you being a part of their lives, and they're going to make you more successful. If this is a classic example of 1 + 1 = 3, just as simple as, man, identifying your strengths and weaknesses and your experiences, be able to add that to somebody else. So I don't know if anybody can top this, Russ. I mean, at the end of the day, investing in people has brought you and I into the infinite banking world through Nelson Nash. It's given us a mentor in Sharon Srivatsa, which has made us dramatically better as business owners and thinkers and thought leaders in this process. To be honest, you would be like, what would you be without me as a partner? Let's just be real. Like if we didn't invest like this in the people, all these other things would have not even mattered. So just top that, Russ. I'm gonna hand it back to you. But just know this is where if you can only invest in one thing, this is what you do.
Yeah, try it. Hey, that's a good one, right? Like Joey makes a strong point there that we are the number one asset out there. And if we're not sharpening our sword, it's going to be really hard to be successful in a lot of different areas. And the more people we surround ourselves with, I think that's the reason why that was the third point in our book. And by the way, have you guys bought a copy of our book yet? Have you bought and read it? Have you read it and then reviewed it on Amazon yet? If you haven't, there's a chance, right? You should go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/new book. And in that new book, then you can get a copy of it. And hopefully you'll see these 3 steps. And step number 1 is goals. Step number 2 is plan. And step number 3 is support. So yes, very valuable to have people in your life. I'm going to let Jamie make his case. Jamie, Stallion laid out investing in people is the number one thing that he would do. The only thing he would do if he could only invest in one thing. You said that you're going to invest in assets. Tell me more.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, not just assets, right? Robert Kiyosaki has a book called Fake. I'm sure you guys have heard about Robert Kiyosaki. He's kind of what turned me on to real estate early in my career. But there's this book called Fake where I won't give you all the cliff notes, but he talks about fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets, right? And I'll read you kind of a cliff note here around the fake assets. Kiyosaki discusses, he talks about various vehicles and warns against what he calls fake assets, such as stocks and mutual funds, which he believes can be manipulated and are not truly owned by the investor, right? And so he promotes investing in tangible assets like real estate and commodities. And that's what always drew me to tangible assets. I could touch it, I could feel it, I could understand it, I could sell it. I had total control over it. And that's what I love about real or tangible assets is the ability to control the outcome as much as possible anyways, right? And so kind of to give you some insight into what I look for in assets or different kind of vehicles that I've gone. I'll give you my personal journey. I started in single family homes with long-term rentals, right? What I loved about long-term rentals, I could look very easily at the math, right? I could pencil out the math. Does it work? Yes or no? It was a very easy decision based on math. There was a pretty much pre-built path of people before me that had done this that I could just not reinvent the wheel and just follow right in their footsteps. It seems scalable. I could use leverage either from my infinite banking policies or from the bank to go scale this. I needed less money than the asset cost. I could use leverage to my ability. Somebody else paid off the debts while I provided cash flow, right? And so I love the single family housing market, long-term rentals. I've converted some into short-term rentals, which is super exciting, higher cash flow, a little more headache, right? But it's still a tangible asset. I have options with that single family home. I could flip it. I could rent it long-term. I could rent it short-term. There's just tons of options within the single family home market. Another one that I love is private lending. That may not sound like a tangible asset, but you were actually backing up your money. You're making a loan to an investor typically, and you're backing that up with their property. So you have first position lien against that property. So my money is secured against a tangible asset. So I know that if anything ever went wrong, I at least have a tangible asset that I can come and collect to get my money back out of. And that's why I love the private lending space as well. Then, we've got affordable housing. When I kind of say affordable housing, think RVs, mobile home parks, small apartment complexes. I love those for a lot of the same reasons. We have the ability to scale quickly. Again, it's a numbers game. I can quickly just kind of do an underwriting, figure out the numbers, pan out. I can use leverage to go and purchase those. And I'm providing a service to a big group of people, right? If I can make that affordable housing nice and clean, fully renovated, I can not only increase value for myself, but I can provide wonderful places for people to live as well.
Tribe, listen up. We're entering into the election year. This is the time where people are going to get super fearful. We're going to see businesses start to dry up. We're going to see opportunities, though, pile up for us only if we're prepared.
That's right. You get to choose right now. Will you allow this time frame to negatively affect you in your business and your investments? Or will you be prepared to take advantage of these huge opportunities that come on the backside of this because you're prepared with cash?
Let's get our house in order. If you haven't already maximized the infinite banking concept in your life, here's the chance for you to start learning. Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/IBC. Take our free webinar so that you can start getting equipped with the things that you need to know so that you can take action on this looming event.
We have a lot of people here that do something called land investing or land flipping, right? And so they're purchasing small parcels of land and they're selling those on seller finance notes. So they're actually selling that to an end buyer. They're holding the note and receiving monthly payments for that. But those notes are on a land contract, right? They are secured by the land. If somebody stops paying for that, they can come back and retake that land. They can just take it back, right? So they're securing their investment on an asset that they can actually touch and feel. Another one would be like ATMs, right? Another tangible asset. I can go, I can touch, I can feel, I can actually pull money out if I wanted to from my own bank account, but you receive fees on a tangible asset that people use every single day and that you can touch and feel and recapture if you ever needed to.
Stay away from those in Vegas, by the way. They're dangerous items, not good for you.
The Vegas ones are tricky. You better watch out, especially when they'll let you put a credit card in and get cash out. That's always a bad sign. You got to watch out for those guys, especially if you play craps like Russ. So if you know how to roll those dice, then you'll be all right. Last one, this is where I'm thinking long-term, and this kind of falls into a lot of the same categories, just a different strategy, is investing in notes or even creating your own notes either through land or seller financing properties. One thing that I'm thinking about in the future of my investing career, if my girls don't want to take over the business, they don't want to have anything to do with real estate, as I reach kind of the passive income stage of life, as Nelson Nass called it, I may sell my properties on seller financing to receive residual passive income and just become the bank in that situation as I sell a property to someone else. And that's what I love about assets. In the big scheme of things, I can touch it, I can feel it. It's pretty simple for me to run a calculation. There's a process and a system I can build around it. And a lot of people have done it. And that gives me some comfort and security when I'm looking to invest money into assets.
Well, and it's what's interesting, I'll just jump in here, is, Jamie, what did you have to do to learn to invest in those assets? Just remind me, Wasn't there like an education
Man,
component that you
you
had
know,
to go through? And like,
my mom used to say, wish in one hand, spit in the other, and see which one filled up first. And so I feel like that's kind of education is the wishing and spitting's the doing, So I just went out and did. I learned the hard lessons along the way.
I think my dad said something different than spit, but yeah, I get the point. Wishes don't fill up as quickly as the substance, right?
That's right.
okay.
I think it's what you're kind of saying too is taking action, right?
Taking action
is
you gotta
important.
take action.
I know we've all seen this. We're in the Olympic time as we're recording this, and you got that one guy that looks real fancy with his little, shooting thing, and talks about, everybody's using that as a meme to say, oh, I'm pouring into myself. I'm gaining all of this insight. I'm attending all of these events. I'm taking courses. And then there's that guy from Turkey with the pistol, just working people. And it's like, does blank. You know what I'm talking about.
I think Joey's example, Alex Hormozi, actually had a perfect example where he had all these, I won't say some of the words, but all these things listed about, da-da-da-da, and they've got the guy from Turkey that sells stuff, so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love the investing in yourself. I love the fact that you're listening to this podcast means you're investing in yourself. And I'm not going to discount what Joey said. All of that stuff's true. And you have to invest in yourself totally. You have to start buying assets. Now, I'm going to make the case here that business is the asset of choice for me. So you've heard us talk about investor DNA. You heard Joey mention it as well during his part. I don't think there's enough credence put into the things that you invest in have to connect to who you are to have the greatest result. Because while Jamie said he started out in, single family homes, I did the same thing, but yet I did not have the same outcome. I did not have the same vision for what it was going to become because it did not connect to me. It wasn't until we did the Investor DNA and I realized, man, you know what I love to do? I love to create businesses, right? I had read, Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth. He talked about, there's 3 different pieces to that puzzle. There's the entrepreneur, the visionary. I tend to fall in that visionary category. I'm that one who loves to think it out and go do it, right? Now, I need to get a bunch of people to help me. To your point, Joe, I need a bunch of who's in the process. But, I'm maybe not going to be the great manager, the organizer, the planner. I'm probably not going to be the greatest technician worker involved, as he says. But I love business. I said at the very beginning, Sharon says the greatest way to build wealth is by owning an operating company. And I think that's true. You mentioned Robert Kiyosaki in his book, Cash Flow Quadrant. He talked about moving from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant. Well, what was he doing? Like one of those was an investor. Kudos to you, Jamie, for talking about investing. The second one is to go from a S quadrant business, a solopreneur, right? Someone who's out there working really hard for money. You know who you are. You're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. You're not only the technician, you're the payroll person, the HR person. You're the person cleaning up at the end of the day. All the things fall on your shoulder. Well, how do we get from S quadrant to B quadrant? We have to become better. We have to start buying businesses, growing businesses. And, the easiest way to make $1 million isn't going from zero in revenue to $1 million. It's buying a business worth $10 million and growing it to $11 million, right? Come on, business is where it's at. And Joey, if you remember, the first thing you and I did together, investing wise, was what? What was the first investment we made together?
It was in a loan, private loan.
It was a private loan. Okay, I'm forgetting that one. I'm thinking the first one we published on our first passive income report. So you're right. I forget. We did a bunch of stuff actually. But the short-term rental business, right? Remember when I convinced you that take that long-term rental, Jamie's situation, let's turn that into a short-term rental.
Yeah.
But I didn't say, let's just go create a short-term rental. Visionary, I said, let's create a short-term rental, fill in the blank.
Business,
right? What are we going to do? We got to go hire an operator that's going to run this business, and we're going to scale it from 1 unit to at least 15 units in the first 12 months. That was what our objective was. Now, we actually end up going over 26 units in 18 months because we knew that the business was the area that we could add the most value in. we could scale it. We could put the people in place because we had gained expertise in that. So if you're doing something very well right now, but you're doing it in a very solopreneur style, maybe you're having success, but you're finding that, man, I'm not necessarily as challenged as I once was. Like when you first started the business and you had all those early struggles, and then business started becoming fun because you were making some money, but then all of a sudden you started adding people to it and you went back through this phase of kind of like chaos. But once you get a business to that predictable success model where you are having repeatable results over and over again, it becomes one of those things that you can leverage to large amounts of income. So not only can you invest in your own business, kind of what Joey was saying, investing in yourself, you can start investing in other businesses. You can start creating businesses. Our whole Investor DNA profile talks about the number of different businesses you can be involved in. We have the e-commerce business, which is going to be highlighted when we're in the Nashville here in a little bit with our Inner Circle Live event. And in that e-commerce business, it talks about the opportunity we have to scale it. How you can not only buy existing ones, or you can start ones from zeros. Their ability to build that team with unlimited opportunities. Because here's the thing about investing in general, typically there is a limit, right? But I see business owners who create massive amount of income, massive amount of wealth. There's opportunity, I believe, in business like nothing else. And you got to have skill sets. I mean, if you haven't already reached out to Apex Coaching Group, go to apexcoachinggroup.com and connect with them. Like, they're a sponsor to the show. They teach you how to grow and scale your business while building and growing passive income at the same time. Like, their skill sets are being business owners who are also trying to build passive income streams. I think we need to find better ways, in my opinion, to grow businesses. Now, if you're not gifted in that area, to Joey's point, find a partner who is. Find someone that you can invest through to get to that point. But businesses is where it's at, in my opinion. All right, gentlemen, what did I leave out? So we covered people, we covered traditional assets, and we talked about how you can invest in business. I know if we could only do one thing, those are the things we said we would do. Anything we missed on that?
The only thing that I feel like we missed is, what's the first step to financial freedom? And that, for me, is if you haven't already set up your infinite banking system and learned how to actually create passive income from your active income. Go ahead and just transform your active income to passive income. You got to get that going, because anything that you invest in should come from this system, because it makes all the difference in the world. It will 10x your opportunity that you have from just implementing this one thing. In fact, I would beg to tell you, Russ, that if we had not done that, we would not be here today.
Well, that's what we actually built a free ebook around this. You go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/PIOS. You actually can get the framework, the architecture of how to build out this process to turn active income into passive income. It is a great tool that could be applied in all of these areas, right? You can be learning as you're doing it. You can then start buying assets, whether it be the typical traditional asset like Jamie was talking about, or business. One of the ones that I think might be the most valuable. All right,
investing in people. Don't forget that, Russ.
I already said investing in people. All right, Tribe. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for investing in yourself, and would love to see and hear how you're growing your wealth. What would be that one thing that you would invest in if you could only invest in one thing? Leave us a review on the podcast. Come back for the next episode. Have an amazing day.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand, so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.